Well, I don't know where to start, but figured I'd make a little video just explaining to everybody kind of what happened, why I've vanished for a lot of folks, and no vanishing, no intent. Long story that most of you probably know to some extent is moving out to Colorado. Trying to make a long story short, Corey and I were in Georgia and just kind of feeling like we were coasting. Nothing was changing. We weren't improving ourselves. Nothing was going bad. It wasn't some horrible experience, but it just wasn't what we were hoping for, and we wanted more out of things and out of life, and saw an opportunity. And we literally opened up a map of the United States and went state by state, deciding what states we would consider living in, and what we were looking for, and really tried to do something. We came to the conclusion, just in looking at states, Colorado was one of the top. You know, we were interested in Utah, but definitely the West seemed to be, you know, uniform. So we made some trips out here and ended up finding this piece of property. And I was no longer afraid of working remote. I had already been working remote for 5 years or so, 6 years, and you know, I had the confidence to say that even if the current job was no longer work remote, that I'd be able to find another work remote position without too much of a problem. And that's obviously held quite true. And COVID also hit, and we ended up buying you know, a little over 35 acres off grid out in Colorado. We're a combination of the Four Corners area, western slope. We're northwest of Durango. For us to drive to Durango is about an hour and a half. We're about 45-minute drive from the nearest town. Half of that is a dirt road, and that dirt road is not plowed in the winter. So in the winter, it'll be snowmobiles and other snow vehicles for getting in and out. So it is a little extreme, but I've honestly never been happier in my life. So, here, let me give you a view. So right now, we're on the property at the very top, and this is our valley. So this is the view from the property. You can see we've got a neighbor's house over there with a red roof down below there. And we own about halfway up this hill right here. And so that's the 360 view. You're facing north now, and now we're looking west, and I've got a weather station up here, obviously. And now we're facing south, and now we're facing east. And you can see the trees are starting to change. It's a unbelievably beautiful place. It continuously changes. We've got some aspen trees over here on the other side, behind me here, right over through there, that are just starting to turn yellow and gold, and some down here that are turning gold. And we're getting, you know, some of the scrub oaks that are around me right here are starting to turn. Most of these are just kind of a yellowish, but there's some reds and some oranges up on the hills. It's quite the beautiful place. But we spent the whole summer, unfortunately not hanging out with friends and talking with friends, but when we bought the place, there was no electricity. There was a propane, well, it was a gasoline generator that was converted to propane, which I could never get started, and it had a giant melted air intake, which means propane had leaked out the air intake and caught fire at some point. Figured it was probably not the smartest thing in the world. So we ended up with solar panels. We've got basically 15 kilowatts of solar panel, so 15 kilowatts of solar panel, 8,000 watt inverter to run the house, you know, two phase, or well, depending on it's one phase, but it's actually two bridges. So we have 220 power, or 240, depending on your terminology. But so full power, just like you'd have at home, no difference. We've got 60 kilowatts of battery, which should be enough for us for, you know, if you know you've got a problem, you reduce your power usage. And I would suspect without even needing to charge the batteries, we could get 5, 6, 7 days out of it. But I've also now have a propane and gas generator. It's a dual fuel that'll 10 kilowatts, so that'll get us charged up very easily. There was a water cistern that didn't work. We don't know quite why it didn't work, but that water system is now been basically disconnected. It's still there, so if we need it for, we'll probably use it for irrigation for plants and things, or at some point I may be able to figure out why it didn't work, or was not used, I should say. Water does come out of it without a problem. But now we've got 3 1,700 gallon water cisterns that we're in the process of hooking up and burying. That's going to supply us all of our drinking water throughout the winter. Just to let you know, both of us have never been so disgusted to learn something in our lives. In Georgia, we would use in the vicinity of 2,000 gallons of water a month. Well, when you sit in front of a 2,000 or 1,500 gallon cistern and see how incredibly big that is and realize that that's the amount of water that we used in a month, it's quite disturbing. So anyhow, we've got our water usage actually now down to, and we don't use enough water. We are still in the conserve water mode because we're still, you know, temporary kind of cisterns and trying to make it work. But we're at about 350 gallons a week now, which isn't perfect, but it's not bad, and it makes a heck of a difference. So here we are. I'm going to turn you around here, and this is the view down the hill. So that's our house down there, and you can see there's a white water cistern just off to the side there. That's one of the 1,500 gallon cisterns that we're working on. We have 3 1,500 gallon above ground tanks, and we have 3 1,700 gallon below ground tanks. And we're doing a little bit of water collection off the roof. Colorado is fairly restrictive on what you can do off water off the roof. You're allowed a total of 110 gallons, which is definitely related to the idea that a 55-gallon drum can fit under a downspout easily. So you could have 2 of them collecting water off your roof. So we are doing that. We have propane for heat right now. We're going to be installing a pellet stove, and on our front porch, we're in the process of enclosing that into a glass front porch, and we'll have a pellet stove there for what we're hoping is the primary heat source. And then next year, we're going to do a geothermal for heat. So our heat, in that case, will actually be very efficient electric, which means we'll have basically a zero heating bill. We have a zero electric bill, we'll have a zero heating bill, and we collect water out of a stream right now, and we have a water purification system to clean that up, and that's pretty much where we are right now. I wake up every morning in paradise. It's unbelievable. Now during the winter, it's going to be tough. We will be snowed in all winter. Not trapped by any means, but definitely snowed in. We will be parking a vehicle in town and using, we have a side-by-side with what they call mat tracks on them, and they're an extended mat track, so it floats over the snow basically. It seats 6 adults. Not necessarily comfortably, but it does seat 6 adults, and it's got a pickup truck type bed on it, and doors that close, windows that roll up. It's got, in fact, it's got power windows in the front. It's got Bluetooth and heat and air conditioning, and you know, it's a full deal. And you know, we'll put tracks on it in the winter, and we've got a snowplow for the front of it. We do have a 1,500 yard or 1,500 foot driveway that we'll be plowing to some extent. And we're also going to have as a backup and for fun, a snowmobile that we've got on the way. It should be here in a month or so. And you know, I apologize for the site looking like a construction site, but heads up, it's a construction site. Good, go figure. So here are our cisterns that we're burying. I mean, this is no joke. This is how we're surviving the winter, and treating it as such. So here's our cisterns being connected up. We've got the three outputs. The one we're living off of here is on the left-hand side. And the spout here is for a fill. The next spout there, that's for air to get in and get out. Why they set it as a 3-inch, which I've got reduced down to a 2-inch, it seems ridiculous. There's no reason for it to need that much air, but that's what it came with. I don't have a whole lot of choice there. And then this last one here, this is the outlet. So there's a straw. Basically, it enters the cistern, and there's a PVC pipe that goes down basically to the bottom of the cistern, and then comes up and then comes down. It's a siphon system. So this valve keeps air out. If I open up this valve, it drains all the line. All the water will either drain back into the tank or will drain down to the house. And this is the way I keep it from freezing in the winter if I run into problems, is that I don't even risk it because there's no water in it. I turn the valve off, I turn on the pump will create a vacuum, it'll suck the water out just like a straw, and I'll be using that cistern. So only one cistern at a time will be exposed to any kind of freeze danger. But these will also be 3 feet underground. So, you know, dirt should be up to give or take this level. So freezing just shouldn't be an issue here. There is definitely concern about the amount of snow that's received up here. In talking to people, we've heard reports of well over 10 feet of snow. There isn't a whole lot of information. There are no other weather stations up here. My weather station up on top of the hill does report to weather underground, so, you know, reach out to me or whatever. I'll even put a link in the you know, down below and for the weather station, so you can see how incredibly cold it's going to get here this winter. So we've got our other 2 cisterns over here. These are the above ground. These are the ones that we'll use for summer. It'll be water storage. You know, we do want to do some agriculture, and we already are doing some. We're starting hydroponics in the basement, so that hopefully all winter long we'll have some tomatoes and what are we doing? We're doing tomatoes, we're doing peppers, we're doing hot peppers, we're doing all sorts of stuff, cucumbers. Not going as well as I would hope, but we also haven't been paying much attention to it. We've been crazy busy with everything. So this is what would normally be the driveway parking area. What you see here is a bunch of holes that are going to be filled in hopefully this week, towards the end of this week. We were going to be doing a carport here, and these were the holes for the foundation of the carport, but unfortunately it fell through. Projects, you know, things happen. So we're going to be filling back in those holes. The wood you see here is going right up here. We're going to have the solar array rack will be built here. It's a little late in the season for this, but we've got time. They should be starting to build that this weekend, give or take, is when that should all start. And here right now, here's what we're living off of for power. We have half of the solar array layout. So we've got 28 solar panels here. There will be 2 arrays of 28 solar panels. And those feed into everything about this is redundant. So we've got redundant arrays of solar panels. We've got redundant charge controllers putting that energy into the batteries. I have redundant batteries. The only thing I don't have redundant is the inverter, but we did have a failure of the inverter. A little tiny resistor died and the whole thing shut down. Granted, Outback Solar was pretty good about getting it. It took a little longer than I wanted to get the replacement part, but they got me the replacement part. There were really very few questions. They troubleshot it immediately, and it did take us, we were down for about a week. So we were running on, I've got one of those little Honda 2000 watt quiet generators. We ran mostly on that during the outage, but it taught me, and we ended up getting another inverter. Unfortunately, a little bit expensive because our batteries are 48 volt batteries. Let's just say a 48 volt inverter, no matter how small it is expensive. But we do now have a backup inverter that will be enough to keep the internet up and running, so I'll be able to work. It'll keep the fridge going. It'll take care of all of our small things that we run all the time. And then when we want to do something that needs more electricity, we'll just start up the generator. So granted, it's not a perfect solution. I'd love a fully redundant inverter, but the inverters are, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. So, you know, not an option for this year per se with everything else going on. But here's our generator. There's the old generator, is the red one behind, and here's the new one, the 10,000 watt generator. Works pretty good. I'm happy with it. Runs off propane, nice and easy. Here's our propane tank. Here's the camper. That's another project that has definitely been put off, but it's parked in a spot where this is where my office is going to be. I'm going to build a little, basically Corey and I each are going to have a 12 by 12, you know, building, little shed. Corey for her music and her drums. It's a place, honestly, for us to just get away. So we're not completely in the house all the time, or you know, it gives us some change of scenery. Lets me come out here and work. Those of you interested in the telescope dome, so here's the dome in parts, and right down there, there's a pile of rocks down there, and that's the hole dug out for the foundation, for the pier for the telescope. So that'll be set up, but it's not going to be this year. This is our Starlink dish right here. So this is what we're using partially for internet. It's still in beta. It's supposed to be coming out of beta next month. It works fantastically good. It's $99 a month. And I've always gotten like 200 megs down and let's say 40 or 50 megs up, which is more than enough for really anybody. I understand people wanting more, but in all reality, if you can't survive on that, you're hosting some big stuff out of your house. Because I host stuff out of my house, and it's fine. So that's the solar array. I'm sorry, that's what we're using for internet, but it's since it's still in beta, this what they call cell is not active. So Starlink actually thinks that I've got it like 80 miles that way. I'm not breaking any rules. I just can't. I keep trying to move it here, and they say it's not available in this area yet. But that should be opening up soon. Even being 20 miles away, I can still watch Netflix, no problem on it at all. It buffers enough that it gets dropouts all the time, but the Netflix buffers enough and compensates really well for it. Here's an all sky camera that's set up. I took the first nighttime image last night, but I'm pretty sure it was out of focus. So I'll have to continue working on that. But I'll put links to those videos when I get them, as they're beautiful. Just watching the stars cross the Milky Way across the sky. Sorry, this looks awful, but we're we're getting there. The porch up top, like I said, that's we've already moved up the floor 6 inches. I hate the idea of a step down between the house and a porch when people enclose their porches and stuff, leaving the tracks for the sliding doors and all that kind of stuff. We're not doing that. We're doing it right. So we've raised all the floor joists that give basically 6 inches. The whole thing is going to be enclosed. It's going to be giant glass windows encased, and we're going to have a pellet stove for heat this year. We do have chickens, so here's the chicken coop. You'll notice there's an extra layer of plywood right there. What I'm doing is I'm plywooding all the sides just to add another layer. There are a lot of animals out here that would love to eat chickens. And we've got coyotes. Every night we hear the coyotes, and lots of them. We've got bears. I've got a trail cam. There's a bear within 100 yards of the property the other day, just wandering through. And we've got golden eagles. We see golden eagles here. I'm not going to say daily, but it's not an uncommon occurrence. Here's our side by side. We went with the Ranger 1000. It's a nice vehicle, 4 doors, power windows, power everything, giant tires, huge ground clearance. It's a nice vehicle. It does the job. Its fit and finish is not quite as good as your car. We added some rear lights so that we can see when you back up. It even has a rear backup camera. It's ridiculous. But when you combine that with these monstrosity of tracks that we've got right here. So these are the tracks. So these are the rear tracks, and normally they don't extend forward. I'll show you the front tracks. Normally you basically get 2 front tracks, but we get all this extra right here. And here are the front tracks right here that go on it. So it basically becomes a tank. And then we've got our snowplow for it also right here, with an extension because the tracks move further forward than normal, so you need an extension to push the plow forward more so it doesn't catch. We've got our water cisterns, and this is how water gets into the system. It goes into the cistern right here, and then through the hose into the house, and there's a pump that pumps it back up the hill to the cisterns up on the hill. So eventually this will just be a parking area. We think we're going to get some of those shipping containers, probably 2 shipping containers, and do an awning between the 2 as a carport. So it'll give us safe enclosed storage, 2 20-foot shipping containers, and then the space between them as a carport. So here's the another view of the house out over the valley, our front yard. And then Corey's building, a little bit of a walk, but not too bad, will be up here. And we were going to put her place right here, where it was out looking over the parking area, so she could see people come in and that kind of stuff. But we decided, I was walking through and just spotted this little spot, not much farther away, but what a difference in the view. So her cottage, building, whatever you want to call it, will be right here with this beautiful view, and she'll have a little porch, and she'll be able to sit out here and drink her coffee and so forth. But this is where we live now. This is what we're doing. So we're figuring out, we're getting there. But I do apologize for not posting up anything sooner, not letting anybody know really what's going on. I mean, some folks have, but most folks, we just have had no time between working, power, cisterns for water, and honestly, we've moved across the country. There's so much stuff to do here. Groundhog Mountain is right there, Groundhog, and we've got Lone Cone, and you can drive up there, and there's all these roads to do, and when winter comes, snowmobiling. We're very excited, but we have been trying to keep that down and not as much as exploring as we'd like to have done, but because we've got work to do, and we've still got the cats and the poison dart frogs and everything else. So a little bit of a disaster, but it's a somewhat choreographed disaster. And we are taking some time to ourselves. We got a bow and arrow, compound bow, and Corey has really taken to that. It's a little scary, but she's out every single morning shooting that arrow, and doing well. And here are the chickens. Here they come. Come here, girls. Come here, girls. Hi. Yes. Hi, girls. So we're doing we've got chickens for the 4 females here, so we'll have eggs in the winter. And that's pretty much what we got. I just wanted to kind of give everybody an update and let you know we were alive and actually very happy and doing well. And we'll provide a lot more updates, and I'll provide updates on each of the individual projects for anybody that's interested in what we're doing for solar and how it's working, and same thing with the cisterns and stuff. But that's pretty much it. I hope everybody's doing well, and just wanted to provide you with an update. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.